So we are back, and the UWFI, the Union of Professional Wrestling Federation International.
The what?
Exactly. So, what this was, and I know you see that horrible green screen, whatever, right there. Anyway, what this was, that's on the other side. See your hand. It's called usually U-Inter, or the UWFI. It was the first shoot professional wrestling style that formed in 1991, and it was the successor to the original Universal Wrestling Federation.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, but this is the Japanese version of it. The trainers of this promotion are the who's who of professional wrestling. We had Billy Robinson as the head trainer of these guys. And I think actually Riki Choshu really influenced the start of this promotion because it was shoot-based wrestling. So there were rounds and points, which I will obviously describe in my little notes here on my iPad, which are very interesting. But we had Danny Hodge as one of the original coaches. But one person that I really want to talk about, they got Lou Fez to be a trainer for the UWFI. I mean, do I really need to go through the lineage of who Lou Fez is?
Not for me, but maybe for the novices.
I mean, probably one of the most culturally significant NWA world champions of all time. He was the one who defeated Orville Brown to gain this championship. When you think of the National Wrestling Alliance, you think of Lou Fez. He was a part of the original committee on there. He was the mainstay. He was actually the star pupil of Ed Strangler Lewis, who actually managed him until Ed Strangler Lewis became legally blind. So this guy is the who's who of wrestling. If you want gold star wrestling, you think about Lou Fez, or this way. I mean, remember, opposite. So they definitely had the right people going into it. They had Shinji Sachatori as well, who was handling the actual translations for Lou Fez, because he was not fluent in Japanese for obvious reasons. The guy was fucking born in Michigan. If you think a guy born in Michigan is going to be fluent in Japanese, you're fucking mistaken. Anyway, these are the rules of this federation, which were incredibly important. The combatants would start with 15 points each. Points would be lost for knockout attempts, being at a disadvantage during a hold. So you cannot physically go and knock out somebody, or else you'd lose some points. And or for breaking a hold by grappling onto the ring ropes and or the feet. So actually it was either it was neck down, or I think it was like kneecaps up, which were the acceptable ways of doing this. The only way to win was by submission, knockout, or to the count of 10, or a wrestler the wrestler's points being reduced to 0. Tag team matches were allowed in this federation as well, and every match was like this. There were no matches within the UWFI that were outside of these rules. They were tag team matches, but it was 21 points instead of the 15 given to a team at start time. However, the point system was rarely referred to, as a wrestler or team losing points could still win by forcing his opponent to submit or by knocking him out. No pinfall counts were allowed. No count-outs were allowed. In practice, wrestlers never set foot outside of the ring during the match. There were no instances of a wrestler at the time of this promotion that actually stepped outside of the ring. Similarly, 6-man tag team matches occurred, but were rare, with 30 points given to a team at start time with the same rules applying as a tag team match. In 1995, rules were somewhat relaxed to allow pinfalls in order to allow for New Japan War, which is another promotion which we might talk about later, and other non-submission-oriented wrestlers such as Abdullah the Butcher to compete in the promotion. In 1995, Anho, which was one of the main bookers, decided to work with New Japan. They booked a shoot-esque thing. Of course, I got an email. Why wouldn't I? To do this. So they booked with New Japan to run co-hosted events because of the not only clash of styles, but how popular each promotion was. There were a lot of people that thought that the UWFi was the start of what we know of as MMA. Actually, that was Pride. But there was one person who really took issue with this, and that was Lou Thesz. And really, a lot of people thought that this, with Lou Thesz leaving, was the downfall of the credibility of the UWFi. He thought of New Japan as a, quote, gimmicky promotion. Now, keep in mind of Lou Thesz's generation compared to what was happening in the mid-90s. He had a huge issue with the WCW promotion, WWF, because it was too gimmicky. Right. So, obviously, the amount of respect that I have for Lou Thesz will never go away. But once again, this might be something that we'll discuss later, which is the evolution of professional wrestling and how it will never go back in time. And that's what I love about professional wrestling. So, he left along with Billy Robinson, and we had some cross-promotional matches, including one of the most infamous cross-promotional matches promotions of all time, which was the 1995 Battle Formation in Tokyo Dome. This was one of the most significant events, I believe, in modern-day wrestling. And none of you know about it. Because not only was it a very high-ticketed promotion with a lot of great matches on the card, but there was an individual that was in attendance. A very young Eric Bischoff. He saw the promos. He listened to what the fans thought. And it gave him an idea. An idea for an invasion. Because how they booked the New Japan and the UWFi, that the UWFi was an invasion company into New Japan. Because New Japan had the cornerstone on Tokyo Dome.
Right.
So how they booked it was a renegade.
Right.
And this gave him the influence to the NWO. And I don't think I really need to go into any kind of credibility of what the NWO did for the professional wrestling business. I don't think professional wrestling in in anything ever would ever be the same without this faction. And I don't think a lot of people realize how important this faction was. And the influence was that night at Battle Formation in 1995. And it's very sad and it's very annoying that the significance of the UWFi is kind of shrouded in some kind of mystery because the company was not successful, but it was. It was at the end of the day. And Lou Thesz obviously had the problem with NWO, and he was a huge shit fit about the whole promotion within of itself, and what they were doing to that. But money talks, and cultural significant talks, and it really. I think really professional wrestling was a big standard bearer.
Right.
I don't know why I'm getting a Tinder notification. I turned that off, but whatever. We're just gonna leave it in.
Oh, we're just gonna leave the Tinder notification in.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it in.
Someone swiping right on you?
Probably. I'm single, ladies. By the way, if you want to fucking deal with,
You don't want to.
of course you do. Why wouldn't you?
Because if you marry that guy, you gotta marry me too. So.
Oh yeah, have fun with that. So anyway, I think really professional wrestling, other than that crazy thing, I think professional wrestling really set a standard for what 90s Americana was just as much as 80s. Everybody watched wrestling because they liked NWO.
Right.
And once again, it just sucks that UWFi is kind of lost in that history. But I kind of want to end it with at least somewhat of a bright side to the UWFi. It was a successful company for at least 15 years. But it's very hard to cross-promote and do a shoot fight, but predetermined finish promotion. We saw it with Brawl for All. It really didn't work. We saw it here earlier before that, but I still think that it should get more credit than what it actually is.
Right.
I really don't have much else to say about how important this entire promotion was, not only to New Japan, to really promote that and really bring in that strong style mentality, but with wrestling as a whole, with the influence of NWO.
Right.
So when we come back, we're going to make not only New Japan Pro Wrestling majestic again, but Wrestling Dontaku majestic again.
Yeah.